What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Command and Console. My name is Jason. Today is another episode of Project PS2. Some cool titles in here, some games that are known to be bad that I actually really like. A collection of James Bond, the subset of PS2 is complete, and of course some other awesome stuff that I will explain why I've picked them up as we go along. But without further ado, let's get to the pickups. So the first game is a really cool survival horror that kind of leans more into the Ghostbusters side of the things than your Resident Evil fare. It's a really cool game called Ghost Hunter. I remember having this game back in the day when I originally had a PS2, when I was like, 15, 16 years old. And remember the facial animations being amazing for the time, like really cool. And this is pretty much Ghostbusters, the game without the license, so to speak. Right? It's very much Ghostbusters in that you've got a weapon that shoots plasma that's meant to like incapacitate the ghosts. Then you've got a similar thing like the trap from Ghostbusters that kind of sucks them in, so you can actually contain the ghosts. Very much like Sony's own Ghostbusters in that regard. It's really cool, and it can be really creepy as well. It's still a survival horror game in essence, so it's still creepy as well. Really like this one. It's a really fun survival horror a la, Ghostbusters kind of game. So if you like Ghostbusters, if you like survival horror and you think the mashing of the two would be pretty cool, this is the game for you guys. It's really fun. That's Ghost Hunter. So as I said in the intro, I've completed the PS2 subset for the James Bond games, and this is the first one off the list. It is 007 Quantum of Solace. Now, I've already got this for the 360, but I've heard that the two versions are completely almost different games in essence, because I think the PS2 version was developed by a completely different studio. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I'm only assuming. But as far as I'm aware, this is a very different game in terms that it's more stripped back. It's less polished than the 360 version. But obviously I had to get this to complete the PS2 Bond subset, complete with manual. Yeah, so I've not played the 360 version, so I have no clue what to expect from either versions. But I've heard that the PS2 version is different enough that it's worth giving it a go. That's 007 Quantum of Solace. The next 007 game is a game I always forgot came out on the PS2, came out in general, really. So we had 007 Everything or Nothing, and that's my favourite Bond game that ever came out, right? It's my favourite, I love it. Great third-person action game, it's awesome. And the same developers gave us another Bond game that I keep forgetting existed, and it is featuring Sean Connery, From Russia with Love. Now this game, according to a lot of people, plays pretty much identically to Everything or Nothing, so I'm looking forward to giving this a go. It's more of an old school Bond experience. Obviously it's based on the movie from the same of the same name as well, so I'm really looking forward to giving this one a go. I love Everything or Nothing, so playing like classic Bond in this game with those mechanics sounds awesome to me, so I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Very affordable as well at £3 in CEX. But that is From Russia with Love 007 starring Sean Connery. Looking forward to playing this one. The final Bond game that will complete the set for me. People argue whether it is a Bond game or not, because Bond is in it, but he's in it for like 5 minutes. I'm talking about a game called GoldenEye Rogue Agent. This is like, it's not got the official 007 branding on it, but it features Bond villains. Bond is in it at the beginning of the game, and you are a new agent and you turn bad. It's basically, you are a rogue agent. You are just doing things on your own time, doing it for yourself. You're not beholden to any agency. You're given the GoldenEye, which is I think like a fake retina that is like really powerful. I forget the overall story to this one, but it's very much completely flips Bond on its head. You play the villain basically in this one. This game got a lot of hate when it came out. A lot of people didn't like the combat. I thought the combat was quite fun. You get to do guns akimbo, and yeah, it's an FPS, first-person shooter. Because I remember when this game was announced for PS2, people were like hoping it was like a remake of GoldenEye for the PS2. But obviously we know GoldenEye took forever to be re-released. Even it went through loads of legal mumbo jumbo to even be re-released on modern systems. So for us to get a remake for it in like the 2000s, the early 2000s, would have been impossible. So this game is strange because, like I said, I count it as part of the Bond subset, but it doesn't have the 007, moniker, so to speak. But I think this is fairly underrated for what it is. It's not the best game in the world. The shooting's fairly fine, but I like where they've kind of took the Bond idea and was like, what if Bond was bad? You don't play as Bond, you play as someone new, but it's that concept of like, what if a 00 agent went bad? And this is literally it. Rogue Agent is literally the game you're getting here. I think it's underrated. I quite enjoy it for what it is, and I would recommend it if you like first-person shooters and you want something different within the Bond universe. This is quite interesting to me. That's GoldenEye Rogue Agent. Moving on to a couple of games now. I've fallen into the trap. I say it's a trap, but it's my own doing. I really want to get some of the Sega titles that were on Dreamcast that were ported to the PS2. But the first game in that kind of collection is Crazy Taxi. Obviously, I've got a bunch of Sega games already for the PS2, like the Sonic collections and Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff. But now I'm renewed for this collection for Sega titles. The first title I've picked up with this renewed idea of a collection is Crazy Taxi. Obviously, I used to have this for the Dreamcast back in the day. Super fun game. Super simple arcade classic in my opinion. Love this one. What is more to say? You're playing taxi driver. You got to take people to where they want to go, and you got to do it in the fastest time. It's bloody brilliant. It's a great concept. Just pick up and play. Just classicness really. It's great. That's Crazy Taxi. This next game is a racing game that was on the Dreamcast, and I used to play loads of it when I was younger, when I had a Dreamcast, right? Played loads of it. And my brain was telling me, that came out for the PS2. That was ported over to the PS2, Jason. You know it was. It definitely was. But I never see it in the wild. So this is the game that really sparked the idea of like, I would like to get some of the Dreamcast ports that were put on PS2 and have them in the collection. Because I'm not going to get a Dreamcast. I'm not going to collect for it. So why not just do the next best thing, get some of the Dreamcast ports. This game is called Ferrari F355 Challenge. It's a fucking mouthful, guys. But yeah, I remember playing shitloads of this on the Dreamcast. This was just a classic AM2 arcade racing game. I think it started life in the arcades as well, but it came onto the Dreamcast and then they ported it over to the PS2. Played this fairly recently. It really holds up. Classic arcade. It's got kind of like that perfect balance of arcade and simulation. And it's really good. I really recommend this one if you can find it in the wild. I've never seen it in the wild personally, but I had to order this on eBay. But yeah, definitely one for the Sega collection for me. It still holds up in my opinion. It's in lovely condition as well. Yeah, I just remember I just got so much nostalgia for this one, playing it loads on the Dreamcast and even jumping it recently on the PS2. I don't think it's particularly as good looking as the Dreamcast version, but it plays the same. It's got the same soundtrack that's really nostalgic to me, and all the sound effects are nostalgic. And it's a really fun kind of like, in-betweener in terms of arcade and simulation. It could be as arcadey as you like, but if you want to step it up and be more challenging and be more that simulation, it's got that there as well. That is Ferrari F355 Challenge. Fucking hell, these names, guys, I'm always going to forget them. But yeah, that's that one. Really good one. So that's it, guys. That is my recent pickups for Project PS2. Completing the Bond subset. It's really cool for me. Really happy about that. Looking forward to checking out From Russia with Love. That's going to be a fun one to play. Don't know what to expect from Quantum of Solace, but I've also got the 360 version to play for that one. GoldenEye is really underrated. I highly recommend it if you want something a bit different within the 007 universe. Ghost Hunter is I hate these terms, hidden gem, but it's a hidden gem on PlayStation 2, I think. Like I said, if you want that survival horror crossed with Ghostbusters kind of vibe, it's got that there for you. And for the time, The story and facial animations are pretty killer, pretty stellar in my opinion. And of course, the Sega titles are just classic to me. Classic, classic, classic all day long. You know, pick up and play games with great graphics, great gameplay and mechanics. Yeah, well, you can't go wrong with these. These Dreamcast ports are great. That's those. So yeah, I recommend all these, I suppose. Bear in mind, I haven't played 007, Quantum of Solace, or From Russia with Love, but I know you guys have. So you guys, you know, in the comments have recommended me loads of games over the last year or so. So yeah, you guys have probably played these, but I do recommend that Ghost Hunter. Out of all of them, that's probably the best game out of the bunch in my opinion. Hell, even though I do like that one, it's really good. As always guys, let me know your thoughts on any of these games in the comments down below. And as always, let's continue to build a PS2 collection.